Hi, crafty friends. Today I will be sharing with you a trifold card that features the new little cow agenda stamps from Mama Elephant. If you know Mama Elephant, you know they are famous for their little agenda line, and these cows are just the cutest. I've already gone ahead and created masks for each of the agenda stamps by stamping each stamp onto a full stick post-it note, and then I fussy cut them all out. Right now I'm just creating my cow tree. I decided to create a cow tree because I really like the mama elephant trees, the critter trees that they already have. They usually come out with one during the holidays. They have a kitty tree, puppy tree, or dog tree, something called a friendship tree with a bunch of different critters, gnomes. They just have all sorts of fun trees that you can use, especially during the holidays. So I just went ahead and created my own version of their critter tree and made it a cow tree. I am arranging all the stamps, stamping it, and then placing the mask over it. At this point, I was looking at my tree and thought it needed a little something in the bottom right corner, so I added a haystack. And so I had to create a new mask for that, so you can see how I created the mask. And then I fussy cut it out and placed the mask over the haystack. At this point, I was thinking that I was going to do some sort of ink blending with the cows in the background. And so I just went ahead and put masks on all of my cows. But after I fussy cut the tree and kind of thought more about my design, I ended up deciding I was going to just use the image as a standalone image and create my background a different way. So I guess I didn't have to mask the very top cow, but it's okay. You can just see the masked cow and see how fun it is to remove every single mask an, from my cow tree. I'm putting the masks back onto the stamp set because I want to save them for future use. It took so much time to make them, I might as well save them. And now I'm just going ahead and coloring my images. I decided to color the cow spots a little bit lighter shade of gray. So I'll be using T3 in Copic Markers. You can use whatever colors you want, but I decided to go with a more traditional color palette for cows, just making it a little bit lighter. And then I went in and colored in the hooves, a slightly different gray shade. I did not include every single coloring step, but just hopefully it's enough for you to see how I colored it and to catch which Copic markers I used. I'll also list the Copic markers I used in the description box below. The fun thing about these cows is you can decide to color it anything that you like. My daughter actually had a lot of fun coloring these cows. She took a sheet of my stamped images and colored them pastel colored. So I was very tempted to color them pastel colored, but I chickened out and went with a traditional color palette. The agenda stamps are really fun to color because one thing is because they are smaller, you don't have to do so much crazy shading on them, or at least I don't. I know some other people that are really amazing colorists. They go all out and they can make a teeny tiny image like this look really amazing. But I went with a little bit more simple coloring just because there's so many to color, and I felt like the impact of putting all the cows into a big tree would be sufficient. I didn't have to go all out with my coloring. Right now I'm putting on the finishing touches to my coloring. I'm just adding a little bit of shading along the edges just to soften up the harsh white edges of the cows, and then adding the cheeks. I'm going in and adding little tiny dots in the W3 just to the edges of the cows, and finishing up with white gel pen details. After finishing the coloring, I cut it out, and now I'm going to get ready to prep the rest of the card. So first you want to cut grass panels to the size of your card panel, but you want to add a 1/4 inch to the edges so that you can create tabs so that they can fold. I'm creating the background with the Mama Elephant stamp set called Snow Globe Scenes. And as I'm positioning the little farm image, I realized that the curve of my grass on the left side made the farm look funny. So I had to move my farm over to the right side. I cut out another mask for this farm because I'm going to use a stencil to create some sun rays in the background. I'm using distressed oxide tumbled glass and a brush applicator to create the sun rays. I find that using a brush like this is a lot easier for me to control when stenciling because it adds color a little at a time and allows me to control how light or dark I want it to turn out. And now I'm doing the famous crafter splatter and adding a little bit of water to some distress oxide tumbled glass again, and just lightly tapping with my paintbrush onto the background, and then heat setting it just to make it dry a little quicker because I'm a little impatient. To finish off the background, I'm going ahead and coloring in the farm, just using some Copic markers and keeping the coloring simple since they are small images, so I don't need to do too much to it. Again, I will list the Copic marker colors in the description box below. If you noticed, I have extra inking that went beyond my stencil below the farm, but I'm not worried about it because I know that the grass panel that I'm going to be adding later on is going to cover it up. So I'm not too worried about my over inking. So I'm going to continue working on this coloring, and I'm just going to skip to the end when I will show you my finished colored image because it's just me coloring. See you on the flip side. The magic of video editing, and we're back. So I'm using a Copic marker just to fill in the edges of my image that didn't get masked perfectly well. And so I'm just taking a matching color and coloring in the edges. Now I just check the background and make sure everything looks right, and it does. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the sentiment in a gray ink. This sentiment comes from the Mama Elephant set. I think it's called Wishes Enclosed. And the thing I like about it is that it includes matching dies to cut out your sentiment. I also wanted to make a custom sentiment because I had to have a cow pun. So I'm using some washi tape to create a line, and I used some alphabet stamps from Little Signage Agenda. It took me a while, so I didn't show you the whole process, but now I'm just using a sentiment banner from Mega Flipper to cut out the sentiments. And now I'm also adhering layers of the die cut to create some dimension to my birthday wishes sentiment. I really like using this way, stacked die cuts to create dimension for sentiments because sometimes I just don't feel like fiddling with tiny little bits of foam tape. So I really like doing it this way. To assemble the trifold panels, I added a strip of double stick tape and also a line of liquid glue so that it gives the folding panels some extra strength since they'll be opened and closed multiple times. I stuck the tab over onto the back of the panel, and then I'm also going to add another card panel, like a blank white one, to cover up all of the coloring and those tabs, just to make it have a really nice clean backing and also a place to write a message to the recipient of this card. Finally, I'm just gluing everything on and arranging things to where I like it. I like using liquid glue to do this because I'm usually pretty crooked when I put things on, so it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to adjust anything that I need. I like putting an acrylic block over the different things that I'm gluing on just to make sure that it glues completely onto the paper. Now using the sentiment as a way to kind of center my design, I added glue onto my cow tree and adjusted it so that the cow is in the center. I just love these punny sentiments. I could not help myself. So we have from the whole herd, and then the inner sentiment says, have a moveless day. I mean, come on, they're cows. When I first received the set, I was so excited. I started to brainstorm a list of punny sentiments that have to do with cows. So you're going to see I have, I think, at least one more punny cow sentiment in this release. But I have more on my list, and I will be sure to incorporate them in future projects. So I thought I was done with my card, but as I lay in bed at night thinking about the card, I realized that the top left corner of the background looked a little naked, and the inside of my card needed just this one more thing. So I decided to add one of the speech bubbles from the Simple Friends Bubbles, which is part of this January 2024 release. And then I wanted to add something in the top left corner. So I decided to add another little tiny hay wagon. Is that what we call them? I don't know. The little wagon with hay bales from that farm image. And then I also wanted to add two more haystacks just to kind of finish out the scene. So here I am. I masked off the little hay bale. I drew in some of the lines that didn't stamp out well, and then just colored up this image really quickly. Once I was done with this image, it was really easy to fussy cut. I also colored and cut out 2 more haystacks, and now I'm just arranging them and adding them to my card. And I really liked it the way that it turned out because it felt like that top left corner had something in it and kind of just filled out the rest of the scene. And that's it. I really enjoyed making this card, and I really hope that you had a lot of fun watching me do this and think through the process of making this card. I really appreciate you stopping by my YouTube channel today. I hope you were able to catch the new release from Mama Elephant. It's available on their website right now. And I hope that you will also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. Take care. Happy crafting.